Brandress says he knew nothing, releases letters between former treasurer and Washington colleague. Our top diplomat in the USA, Joe Hockey, was today shoved to the center of claims a sweetheart deal was brokered to get the West Australian government more money from a high court case. Attorney General George Brandress says he has acted in taxpayers' interest during the Bell Group liquidation. And Labor piled on to accuse the government of scapegoating the former treasurer for what it calls the Washington kickback scandal. The deal would have been at the expense of federal taxpayers, who might have lost $300 million owed to the tax office. And it might have gone ahead, but for departed Solicitor General Justin Gleeson, who declined to mount supportive legal argument before the High Court, where the plan collapsed on other issues. Whatever the outcome of the parliamentary debate, it is likely there will be strong pressure to recall Mr. Hockey to explain his involvement in the scheme. Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull rejected the notion, telling Parliament the Washington case was predictably lost on Section 109 of the Constitution, which says when a state law is inconsistent with the Commonwealth law, the Commonwealth prevails. The conspiracy theories, the falsehoods now being spread by the opposition, are all as one with their approach, Mr. Turnbull told Parliament. He said of opposition leader Bill Shorten, "Whether his statements are accurate or not is entirely a matter of coincidence. But certainly Perth believes there was an agreement." Attorney General George Brandress today used Parliament to explain, in part, his knowledge of any agreement, and in the process appeared to flick past responsibility to the former treasurer, now in Washington. "I can't speak about events of which I was unaware at the time they were happening, of which I first became aware nearly a year after they happened, and in which therefore I had no involvement," Senator Brandress said. But he pointed to an exchange of letters, which shifted the spotlight to then-Treasurer Joe Hockey. Labor's Senate leader Penny Wong immediately accused Senator Brandress of throwing Joe Hockey under the bus and set the tone for later opposition attacks. Senator Brandress tabled correspondence between Mr. Hockey and the Washington Treasurer Mike Nahin from April last year, which identified a deal for legislation to finalize the liquidation of the Bell Group, a long-running case the state government feared would see money for creditors spent instead on litigation. Dr. Nahin said the legislation would speed up the return to the Commonwealth and state and other creditors, eliminate speculation by professional litigation funders, and ensure no misdistribution. He ended the letter. "I also trust that you would therefore see no need for the Commonwealth to contest the legislation we plan to introduce into the West Australian Parliament. The Washington government thinks there was a deal, but the federal government won't support this." On any reasonable reading of those letters between Dr. Nahin and Mr. Hockey, they don't constitute an agreement, Senator Brandress told Sky News. This raised the constitutional matter of a state government using powers over corporations, a power usually reserved for the federal government. The ADO challenged this and Mr. Gleeson provided legal advice. Senator Brandress today declined to say whether he had given Mr. Gleeson verbal instructions not to follow the legal course that ultimately prevailed. "I'm not going to disclose legal advice," he told Sky News. "But when there is a large matter before any court, including the High Court, of course you have discussions with your barrister, and of course you discuss the posture and strategy you should take. Now, I'm not going to go into that matter, because it's not appropriate. But it's enough to say that, in the end, I was faced with a decision whether the Commonwealth should intervene on top of the ADO. I had initially been of the view that this was a matter between the West Australian Treasury in effect and Commonwealth Treasury, but Mr. Gleeson said to me, 'Well, you are not thinking this through. There is also this issue about the Corporations Act and I strongly urge the Commonwealth to intervene in its own right in case the Corporations Act comes up. However, Senator Brandress said the matter was decided on a separate legal issue related to tax law.